Braden Smith has another monster night against Washington, and I'm telling you right now, it's time to put him right back where he belongs in that Player of the Year conversation.
You are Locked On Boilermakers, your daily podcast on the Purdue Boilermakers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Locked On Boilermakers here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcast network where it's your team every day. I'm your host. I am Nick Arvin. I talk Boilermakers every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the only daily Purdue show out there. Also write about Purdue for Purdue 24/7. And we got a fun episode headed your way today because we're reacting to everything about Purdue's big win over Washington, 81-73. It got a little bit close there at the end, but we'll get into that and why I think Braden Smith deserves to be right back in that Player of the Year conversation. We'll get to all that, and then we'll get to some player grades, who showed up, who didn't against Washington, then finish off today's episode with our daily portal update. What's going on the football side of things? But thank you guys once again for joining me today here on Locked On Boilermakers. And before we get into what happened, Washington versus Purdue, I do just want to shout out Gicarri for being the closest to guessing the final score for Purdue versus Washington. We got that every prediction show. What happens? You leave a comment. If you're closest, well, you get shouted out on the reaction episode. So shout out Gicarri for getting close in that one. But with that being said, let's jump right into things today. Let's talk Purdue, Washington, how this game played out, and ultimately Braden Smith. He's the huge storyline coming out of this game. He had 3 fouls in the first half. So Matt Painter, he had to sit Braden for an extended period between the end of the first half and the start of the second half. But it doesn't show up on the box score because although he just played 28 minutes, Braden put up 23 points, 10 of 15 from field goal range, also had 7 assists in there. Braden Smith brought this team to victory in this game. And something that the broadcaster said, I don't know who was on the call, but they said something that I just disagreed with in terms of how Washington should have played Braden Smith. They said that to limit Braden Smith, you want to force him to score, which I disagree with. And I've been saying that I disagree with that philosophy because I think that Braden Smith is at his very best when he's looking to score, because that opens up so much in terms of those passing lanes. When the defense has to collapse onto Braden Smith, it opens up so many other guys, and it makes him multidimensional as a player. And yes, even when Braden Smith doesn't shoot the ball 10 times in a game, you can always kind of count on him putting up double-digit assists because that's just the type of player he is. But when he plays the way that he does tonight, when he's getting to that mid-range, getting to that fadeaway from the mid-range, and it's going the way that it was, when he shoots 10 of 15 from field goal range, Braden Smith is impossible to stop because, like we said, he's got that pass as the second option if need be, if that shot doesn't go. So Braden Smith is such a difficult player to stop. Everybody knows that, but Washington, they found it out the hard way in this game. And so only an 8-point difference when we look at it, 81-73. And a lot of that comes down to the late game where Washington, they just kind of stood around, hung around in that game towards the very end. But in the first half, I thought that Purdue played brilliant. I thought that they were really good. We talk about Braden Smith, how good he played, but with 3 fouls, he had to go out early. And it was a situation where for Omer Meyer, I thought that this was going to be a really big opportunity for him to lead this offense, to try to build up some confidence because Omer, he's just been struggling as of late. The shots haven't been going. You can tell that the confidence is kind of down for him. And yes, we set very high expectations going into this year, but he has struggled a little bit, but the talent isn't a question. It's just when does he get there? So I thought that tonight was going to be a really big step if he were to take advantage of it in terms of trying to get to that confidence level, trying to get to the player we know that he's capable of being and that he showed off overseas at Tel Aviv. And tonight he was brilliant. He had in just 16 minutes for Braden Smith, had 8 points, had an assist, but was 3 for 4 and made a few really big shots when Purdue needed him. So Omer, he was able to step in when Braden Smith was out. But back to the point about Braden Smith and the reason I think that he should be in that player of the year conversation. And he was the favorite going into this season as expected, but to start out the year, as you guys know, just struggled shooting the ball. But when he puts up performances the way that he does tonight, when he scores 20 plus points, still has 7 assists, it's hard to deny that he's getting better and better and better as this season progresses. And right before this game against Washington, he was right around 4th or 5th in the odds for being player of the year. Cameron Boozer, number 1, far away the favorite right now. And then AJ Dybonsta is at number 2. But after this game, Braden Smith jumps up to number 3 in the odds. I think that he needs to be even higher. And it's very important that I say the odds that are reflected right now, the conversation that's being had right now is not going to be the same conversation had when that award is being voted on, because you got that assist record now that we're looking at. Braden already has the Big Ten assist record that he earned against Wisconsin, but according to the stats that he's putting up right now, averaging right around 9 assists a game, he's on pace to break it in the Big Ten tournament. And you're telling me that if Braden Smith continues the trajectory he's on, scoring at the efficiency he's scoring at right now, not to mention the assist numbers, and to have the opportunity to break that record in front of a national stage at the Big Ten tournament, you're telling me that's not going to affect the voters? But I don't think people are talking about that right now in terms of this award. People just have eyes on the now. They have eyes on AJ Dybonsta and Cameron Boozer, who are standout freshmen, generational freshmen who are averaging 20 plus points a game, and that's fine. But you cannot credit Braden Smith. Not enough people are talking about Braden Smith anymore for this award, and I think it's time that changes. I think it's time that we really start putting Braden Smith in that conversation, and we see it with performances like tonight, where he pretty much put this team on his back for a good portion of the game. Now, Trey Kaufman-Renn, Oscar Cluff did a lot of good things down low, but if Braden Smith didn't perform the way that he did and Washington hung in this game towards the end the way that they did, I think we may be having a different conversation right now. And you could even see it. Now, I'm not trying to discredit Omer Meyer, because I even said it, how good he was in this game. But you can tell there is a distinct difference from when Braden Smith is on the floor compared to when he is not on the floor. The offense is completely different. And that's why I feel like he is that player of the year, because of the effect that he has on this Purdue offense. The Purdue offense is number 1 in the nation because of Braden Smith. You take Braden Smith off of this team, it's not the number 1 offense in the nation. So you have to add that in. I don't think there's a player more valuable in the nation than Braden Smith. He showed it against Washington, and I just hope that people continue to see it. Now, obviously, the conversation, the rhetoric surrounding that award, it's not as important as winning games, and that's what Braden has proven he's able to do for this squad. So after this win against Washington, the 2 takeaways I have right now are, it's a little bit concerning that not just against Washington, but also at times against Wisconsin, after Braden breaks that award, the team just gets stagnant. It just feels like they don't have that same urgency to score, which makes sense when you're up at an in-the-game scenario, but it doesn't make sense to allow teams to get back in these games. And now Purdue, they were up enough against Wisconsin, but we see in this game against Washington, they get it to 8 points. You have a little bit more time left on the clock. Who knows what could have happened? So that's my concern there in terms of what is to be concerned. But from a positive standpoint, coming out of this victory, I don't know if there's a team in the nation that can stop this Purdue offense when they're on. They were just so dynamic. The lobs inside to Daniel Jacobson. Braden had a couple of those to start out. And then Trey Kaufman-Renn lobbed one up to Jacobson. Having a 7'4" guy off your bench is such a luxury, and it really shows on the offensive side of the ball. Purdue has so many talented players that were on display against Washington that are going to continue to be on display going through the rest of Big Ten play. But the good news for Purdue, they're 4-0, undefeated in Big Ten play, and it's just up from here. So we're going to get to the player grades. Who showed up, who didn't, and much like last time, there were a lot more that showed up than didn't. So we're going to have that. Stick with us. That's here next. Let's be real, managing your finances can feel overwhelming. Between subscriptions, you forgot about bills that just keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes to each month, it's easy to feel like you're losing control. And who has the time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? Well, that's where Rocket Money comes in, the personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I was shocked when I started using Rocket Money because I was able to cancel 48, dang near $50 a month in unused subscriptions. That adds up over the course of the year. So I'm very grateful for Rocket Money, how they've entered my life, and you can be too. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked on. rocketmoney.com/locked on. We're going to get to all the player grades here in this segment. But before we do, I want to tell you guys about a couple cool things. So first of all, it's my first season here on Locked On Boilermakers. If you guys like what you see, if you're new here, haven't hit that subscribe button, I just want to say, if you guys could do that, it would mean the world. I'm on the chase to 1,000 subscribers right now. Huge milestone for me. Would love to hit it before March Madness. So thank you for all you guys. If you guys could hit that subscribe button, it would be huge. And then the second thing is, I'm sure you've heard of it by now, but Locked On and the Locked On Boilermakers channel is rolling out the Everydayer Club. And if you're an everydayer, thank you. You make this show go, being here every single day. I appreciate it more than you know. So we want to do something to give back to you guys. And that's why we're launching the Everydayer Club for just $5 a month, $50 a year. That gets you access to the exclusive Discord chat where you'll have that bracket pool come March time. You also get all the ad-free Locked On Boilermakers content. So make sure you hop in there. I'll leave that link down below for you guys. But without further ado, let's get right into player grades for Purdue's victory over Washington. And I feel like we have to start at Braden Smith. We just talked all about him in the previous segment, but once again, for the second straight game, he gets an A+. The way that he was able to perform, the way that he was able to be aggressive and still manage those fouls early on. Everybody knows about Braden Smith by now, but it's still crazy that he continues to impress game after game after game. He has 14 assists a couple weeks back, and then he bounces that back, follows that up with a 20-plus point performance, 23 points, and then 10 of 15 from the field. Great efficiency. Braden Smith played at an A+ in this game against Washington. Rather, I almost said Wisconsin. Washington. Trey Kaufman-Renn. And this one, I'm going to give a B-. Now, he was good, had a double-double, 14 of 14, 6 of 11. It just felt like at times, and it was really the Trey Kaufman-Renn-Jacobson lineup that the spacing just felt a little bit off. And I don't know why that is. I know that TKR is the best with Jacobson because Jacobson does struggle rebounding a little bit. I just thought that the spacing was a little bit wonky. But in terms of the way that he actually produced 14 and 14, great stat line for him, 6 of 11 from the field. You'll take that for TKR. I'll give him a B-, maybe just a B, because I feel like B- kind of has a negative connotation to it. Trey Kaufman-Renn, he was fine. Normal self, was good. Got the win for Purdue. So he really set the pressure down low. And one more thing I want to add before we get to Oscar Cluff. It was kind of a group effort, but limiting Steinbach early was huge for Purdue in terms of building up that lead, getting a 17-point lead going into halftime. So the bigs did a very good job with that. And Oscar Cluff, I'm going to give him that same grade, a B in this one. Had 8 points, 7 rebounds, not as flashy of a performance, but still down low, having to guard up against a premier big in Steinbach. I thought they did a really good job in this game of limiting him early. Now, he still ends up with 14 points, I believe, to end 17. I was wrong. 7-11 from field goal range. So not a bad night for Steinbach, but he had 3 20-point games coming into West Lafayette. Limiting him was huge. I think that Purdue did a good enough job to get the win. So B's for both of the bigs here in this game. CJ had 11 points, 3 of 8 from field goal range. I'll give him a C+. Now, I think that CJ is very talented. I know that CJ is going to be a big piece of this team going into next year alongside Omer, hopefully alongside some of these other guys, Jack Benner, Gicarri Harris. And what he offers on the defensive side, you can't discredit that. But I just want to see him start to get into that flow offensively. And he was there, 3 of 8, got to the free throw line a few times. But I just don't see it flow for him right now. I want to see him really get into that level where he can shoot it confidently, doesn't have to pass up that shot. I think that we're going to be better for it when CJ Cox is shooting that ball. So I just want to see him shoot it more. I want to see him be more intentional with his offense. If he's able to do that, there's no doubt in mind that CJ is going to be a premier player in college basketball, especially in the Big Ten going into next year. But I'll give him a C for his 11-point performance in this game. Fletcher Loyer, 5 points, 2 of 8, 0 for 4 from three-point range. I'm going to have to give him a D- in this game. And we talked a lot about Fletcher Loyer, some of the struggles that have come lately, but he just continues to struggle. He had a solid game against Wisconsin, put up 20 points there, but he's just not able to find that consistency right now in terms of stringing together these performances. Until that happens, I just don't know what to really think about Fletcher Loyer, because I know that he's talented. We've seen him for 4 years now. We've seen him knock down those threes. Yes, he's not the best defender, but he typically gives you that efficiency from three, and he's just not doing that right now, which gives me a little bit of concern for him. But I hope he snaps out of it. I'm not going to say he will or he won't right now, because truly, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him. But in terms of where Purdue wants to be, Fletcher Loyer is going to need to start stringing together some of these performances. So I'm going to give him a D for his performance in this game. He was pretty bad, to be honest. Missed a few shots that he should have made. He did have an and one, so that was nice. But outside of that, just kind of rough for Fletcher Loyer. Jacobson, amazing. I'll give him a B+, A-. Coming off the bench, he was really good. We talked about the lobs. Braden had a couple to start out this game, and then there was one where they got it to Trey Kaufman-Renn on the inside elbow, and then he just lobs it up to Jacobson. And I just think to myself, this guy is such a cheat code coming off the bench to produce the way that he does. Jacobson is always extraordinary, and I'm always impressed with the way that he plays. He was good again tonight, 5 of 6, 10 points. One rebound, rather, but has 2 blocks. Meyer, I'm going to give him an A as well. I was so happy that Omer Meyer, although just 16 minutes, just 8 points, it was a confidence builder in the biggest way for a guy that has really struggled as of late, that has struggled to start out his freshman year. Meyer, he was brilliant in terms of filling in for Braden when he had those foul troubles, had those 3 early fouls, just stepping in and providing that offense when Purdue needed it to end out the half. I was so happy for Omer in this game. I want to see him continue to make those shots because he's going to be a big piece, probably going to be the starting point guard going into next year. So going into Big Ten play, getting him that experience this year and having him just stack these performances together. It doesn't have to be the craziest game. It doesn't have to be a game that pops out on the box score, but just being games where you make shots, you do the right things that build confidence for you. That's what I saw in Omer in this game, and I want to give him an A just because I was so happy with his performance. Jack Benner. Now this one, Jack Benner, he just hasn't been playing consistent minutes, but 1 of 1, that field goal streak continues for him. 7 minutes, 2 points. You really can't grade a performance like this. He had 2 rebounds. I guess just a C because I really don't want to go one way or the other for him. And that's kind of been the common theme the past few games. Just hasn't played those minutes in the Big Ten games to really gauge what he's going to be. I think he's going to have a bigger role next year. But as for right now, he gets what he does, and he produces pretty well in the opportunities he's given. So I'll give him a C for his performance. And then Gicarri Harris had 18 points. It was just straight cardio out there for him. He didn't shoot the ball, had 1 rebound. I'm going to have to give him an F for this. When you don't put up a single shot attempt, when you're just running cardio out there on the floor for 18 minutes, that's an F performance. He had 0 points in this game, obviously. And I don't want to harp too much on Gicarri Harris because everybody does that. Everybody is on Gicarri Harris because he's underperformed the expectations that he had set and the expectations he set for himself going into this year. Gicarri Harris was supposed to be a very big piece, debatably a fringe starter, that 6th man going into this season, the way that he's played in the exhibitions, but playing up in the regular season, Gicarri Harris just has not been it so far to start out this year. And going into this game, he was really bad here tonight. It felt like he did some good things on the defensive side, but just when you're on the offensive side and you're just playing for cardio out there, that's unacceptable. You can't not shoot the ball 1 time. I don't think that's okay. I'm going to give Gicarri Harris an F for his performance in this one. And then ultimately, Purdue as a whole, for the way that they played in this game, I'll give them a B- because I thought the first half, they were extraordinary. They did great things, got to everywhere they wanted on the offensive side of the ball. Some of those sets were brilliant. but just letting that game go late, that brings your grade down. I'll give Purdue a B minus. You still get out with a convincing win against Washington, but the final score is not what you want it to be. So for those reasons, I'm going to give Purdue a B minus for their performance. Still a good win, but not dominating the way that you would have hoped to start out this game. So definitely a win that you can try to build on. 4-0 in Big Ten play. Can't look past that. And we're going forward. Next game is Penn State. We'll have a preview out for that one on Friday. So make sure you guys join us for that. But here in the final segment, we're going to get to the portal. You know, every day it's a portal update because crazy things happen around portal time. And more things happen today, more additions. So we'll get to that here next on Locked On Boilermakers. Purdue got a solid haul today. We updated you guys yesterday on what Purdue did, what Barry Odom was able to get in the transfer portal. But today was probably the best day that Purdue has had since the portal is open, bringing in 4 guys, 3-star transfers, all of them are, and really starting to bolster up that defensive side. We talked about the linebackers that Purdue has brought in, notably Penn State linebacker Anthony Specca, who came yesterday. So the linebackers have gotten better. Winston Berglund announces that he is no longer transferring out of Purdue. But with Jamarian Harkless leaving, with D'Amico Kennedy leaving Purdue on that defensive line, the next biggest hole outside of the secondary on that defensive side is the front 7, that defensive line that has needed a lot of help. But Barry Odom, he addresses it today. And the first guy I want to talk about is Illinois transfer, 6 foot, 310 pounds, Kurt Neal. He's a defensive lineman, probably going to be maybe that inside guy I could see at 310. But at Illinois, just didn't see the field on that defensive side as much as he would have hoped. Still a very talented player. I think that Kurt Neal is going to step in, and he's definitely going to play for Purdue. And I think that he's going to be a good piece of this defense, and a defense that now definitely needs some guys. And on the defensive line, Kurt Neal is going to be able to fill that up, going to be good in run protection, a big body down low where they run it, he stops it. So I think that's who Kurt Neal is, and a really big pickup on that defense. Now, just to recap you guys on who we've got on the defensive side, Barry Odom has really been going after defensive guys in the portal, and the addition of Kurt Neal really does reflect that, in my opinion. But it wasn't just Kurt Neal who was brought in today, because another piece on that defensive line, and an absolute giant, 6'4", 315 pounds, Wisdom Sims comes over from NC Central. And this is one that's really interesting for me because he did play at NC Central. This is a guy where he doesn't transfer because of lack of playing time. He transfers because he was at a smaller program, really shows out, and wants to go to the Big Ten level. And Barry Odom gets an absolute snag because I think a bunch of other schools as well were going after this guy. Barry Odom has really done a good job at addressing this defense. I know I'll say that a bunch of times on this episode, but it was really a huge part of what needed to happen. You already have Ryan Brown, you have running backs, you don't really have pass catchers on the offensive side, but at least you have something to work with. On the defense, you really don't have anything to work with. Mike Shire leaves, a lot of your defensive pieces leave. So the fact that Barry Odom has really addressed the defense the way that he's done and brought in quality guys like a Wisdom Sims, it doesn't bring me hope for next year, but it brings me a little bit of contentment inside in terms of, yes, Barry Odom, he's at least trying. We don't know what the product's going to be on the field next year, but we at least know that he is trying. So that's a positive note for me, and something that I really see with the additions of Kurt Neal, also the addition of Wisdom Sims today, trying to get that defensive line back to where it needs to be, get that aggressive, strong, big defensive line that we've seen Purdue teams in the past have. We didn't see that last year. We need to see it this year with some of these guys transferring out. So that's it for the defensive line today. But Barry Odom, he gets another really nice piece on this offensive line. We hit on it 2 days ago when Micah Sinai and Micah Bonalos come over from USC. I'm sorry about that. But we get another guy in the transfer portal today, another really big piece on this offensive line, figuratively and literally. And in my opinion, the best guy that we've gotten so far, his name is Boaz Stanley, an SEC player from South Carolina, O-lineman, 6'4", 310 pounds. with Hank Purvis gone, with Braden Joyner gone, it was really important that we shored up this offensive line going into 2026 with guys that are going to be able to run block, with guys that are going to be able to assert that tone on the line in the trenches, because that's not what Purdue had last year. They didn't have lines that were able to compete in the Big Ten. And now you bring a guy over from two guys over rather from USC, a guy over from South Carolina, and Boaz Stanley. And now we have 3 starters on this offensive line. Combine that with Joey Tanoa saying that he's going to return at Purdue. Purdue's offensive line actually looks really solid right now, and it's one of the bright spots still left on this team. So right now, Barry Odom, he's pretty well shored up this offensive line. He shored up the running backs in terms of Antonio Harris, in terms of Jarrett Gibson, who we just got from Texas. You got Ryan Brown back. So that's a big portion of your offense. You just need some pass catchers, a solid tight end still left in the portal. You do bring over Asad Wasim, who we'll see how good he is. But in terms of what Barry Odom's done on the offensive side, I think he's done a great job. And it's an offense that I do really have a lot of confidence in. The way that it's building, the way that's being built up, rather, that it can be a solid running attack, that it can really compete in the Big Ten. That's not necessarily something that I thought throughout the course of the season last year. It was just a really underwhelming year last year. So I'm trying to get myself excited going into the future, going into 2026. But we do have some additions, and some additions that I think Purdue fans should be really excited about. But that wasn't it for today, because we brought one more guy in, and that was Mr. Clark. Funny name, I know, but another great piece on that secondary from FIU. Going to be a solid defensive back, especially when you pair him with Jaden Mangham. And we did need it. The secondary is probably the most scarce position in terms of the defense. But now you got 2 very talented ball hawks at safety. I think that Jaden Mangham is more of a ball hawk, and then Mr. Clark, more of that hybrid safety, can get downhill. But either way, FIU transfer, 3-star. And now we can start to see, yes, the rankings aren't everything, but in terms of the transfers that Purdue has now, 3-star in Jarrett Gibson, that's 1. Makai Sinai, 2. Mr. Clark, 3. Makai Bonalos, 4. Asad Wasim, 5. Boaz Stanley, 6. Anthony Specca, 7. Wisdom Sims, 8. Jaden Mangham, 9. Kurt Neal, 10. So as of January 8th, Barry Odom has already brought in 10 3-star transfers, which, in my opinion, that's a very good job from him, when most of the guys that you were losing were ranked lower than the guys you bring in. So Barry Odom has really done a good job, in my opinion, of addressing the needs that this roster has. Now, it's not everything. He's still going to have to fill more spots, get more guys in, and then it all comes down to meshing together, because in the transfer portal era, that's not a guarantee that these guys are going to play well together. And we saw that last year. But the fact that Barry Odom has done a really good job at bringing in these high-quality guys, it does give me a lot of, I guess, just reassurance for what we're going to see. The fact that Barry Odom still does care, that we still are going to at least try for this football program. And yes, it's not perfect, but we do have guys, and that's better than how I felt about it just a week ago. So we're doing good so far in the transfer portal. I'm sure we'll have more guys left, and we're probably going to do these updates every day until the portal closes, because, I mean, we got to figure out who's going to be on this depth chart going into next year. It's certainly going to be a fun portal season. It's been a wild portal season already, but of course, I appreciate you guys listening. If you guys made it this far, I just want to say thank you. And thank you for making Locked On Boilermakers your first listen today. It means more than you guys could ever know. Thank you for making it your first listen today. And of course, the everydayers, I got to say thank you to you guys. Once again, you really do make this show go. But that's all I got for you guys today. I'll be back here same time tomorrow, so make sure you join us once again for that Penn State preview. It'll be a fun one. But as always, boiler up, hammer down.